Hey, what's going on, y'all? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Elliott Ware. I'm a new creator here on YouTube. I make a lot of different content revolved around fitness, lifestyle, books, school, different things like that. And in today's video, I'm going to be going over another book that I read recently. The author of this book is a well-known successful rapper and entrepreneur. You may know him as Rick Ross. And today we're going to be going over his book, The Perfect Day to Boss Up. But yeah, I read this book a while back. It was a really good book. He really talks about, I guess you could call this like a self-help book. He has some really good lessons here just about, you know, being successful, chasing your dreams, hustling, being like an entrepreneur, things like that. So really good gems in here, and I'm gonna be going over it now. So if you're thinking about grabbing this book, stay tuned, because I'm gonna be going over some different things and you can decide for yourself if you want to pick it up. Before we get into the book, I just want to say I appreciate you checking out this video. If you do enjoy the video, I really appreciate it if you gave it a like as well, and also leave a comment too for any kind of books you want me to read, as well as check out some of my previous videos and subscribe for future content that I'm going to be. All right, so we just gonna go ahead and get into it. The first topic that he talks about in this book is a whole brick by brick concept, and this really goes back to just how the process of things, and how when you're trying to master a lot of different skills, which honestly, if you want to be successful, you have to master different things. If you want to be an entrepreneur, you have to master different things, and sometimes you have to build those skills up brick by brick, one skill at a time, and really one kind of thing at a time. And Rick Ross talks about starting small, focusing on one thing, mastering that before you move on to something else. Every boss started out as a worker, so don't be afraid to just put in the work, start at square one, make sure you're doing everything right, and just again taking it brick by brick, step by step, to really get to where you want to be. Even Rick Ross himself used to be a worker. He used to work at a car wash back in Miami, where he would wash all the local cars and get their cars right, and that was how he built a really big work ethic. Also, with this whole brick by brick concept, a lot of people today really want instant gratification. They want things right now, immediately, and it's really not how it works when you're trying to just be successful, achieve your goals. Again, you have to really take things one step at a time and build your, you know, your hustle or your grind kind of brick by brick. Okay, so theme number 2 from A Perfect Day to Boss Up by Rick Ross is going to be bosses stay students. And this goes back to just how, whether you're a boss or a worker, whoever, you know, you always have to keep learning and you always have to keep evolving. Rick Ross himself, him as well as other notable rappers, all realize that rap and hip hop is a young man's game. And so once their careers were over, they knew they had to pivot and transition into something else. And Rick Ross did that just by getting Wingstop franchises, getting more into business, putting his money to work, you know. So that's him evolving, that's him never stop being a worker, because he had to learn about that type of stuff. And so you never want to stop learning, you never want to stop just learning about new things, because that leads to just evolution as a person or in whatever field you are, and really leads to more progress too. Rick Ross also talks about how people really get complacent after a little while, and how this is something as bosses we should try to avoid complacency, avoid getting stuck in our ways, laziness, all that. You want to stay striving to evolve and just grow as a person. Okay, topic number 3 is going to be manage your emotions. And what Rick Ross talks about in this portion of the book is that we shouldn't let our emotions dictate our decision. And he himself talks about interviews that he's done to where he let his emotions get the better of him, and he said something he shouldn't have said, and he had to go back and apologize for later. And that's something that kind of goes in key with this whole manage emotions. In the case that we do let our emotions get the better of us, it's important to just apologize and know where we did wrong, because if you don't acknowledge where you went wrong, you can't begin to fix it and get better. A good example of Rick Ross managing his emotions is when he was involved in a Reebok deal that kind of went south, didn't work out too well. And he acknowledged that he could have gotten on Twitter, gotten on social media and bashed Reebok, but he realized that wouldn't have helped anything, and that probably would have made him look even worse. So good job by him, and I think that we should all take something away from that lesson, is just to manage our emotions and don't let them get the better of us. Another topic that Rick Ross talks about in the book is mastering the art of the L. So we all take L's, we all take losses, lessons, whatever you want to call them, but Rick Ross is saying that we have to learn from them, and we have to take what we did wrong and use it to figure out how we can do better next time. He talks about how Donald Trump lost the 2020 election and he began spreading lies of just misinformation, voter fraud, claiming that the election was stolen from him. And according to Rick Ross, this is an example of being a sore loser and Donald Trump not knowing how to accept his L at the end of the day. As we noted earlier, just about like how managing emotions can lead to bad situations, and how sometimes whenever we take L's, just our inability to acknowledge the L and learn from it, L, loss, lesson, whatever, that leads to more damage long term than if we had just acknowledged it and learned from it. And at the end of the day, even if you do run into L, loss, whatever, it doesn't define you. At the end of the day, you define you. Okay, so our next topic that we got from A Perfect Day to Boss Up is hustle your own way. And Rick Ross is basically saying that everybody has their own path, everybody has their own trajectory that they go through in life, and how whatever you're doing, you just gotta focus on hustling your own way and doing your own thing and not really worrying about what the next guy got going on. And that's something I agree with, really just focusing on yourself, focusing on what you gotta do, and anything that you go through or that you have to deal with in your life and while you're on your hustle, you know, that's for you and for you only. Rick Ross talks about how Kanye is rather flamboyant and loud, and how he does just his media and his presentation with like his music and just his whole brand. And Rick Ross acknowledges that while that works for Kanye, which we see in just his music sales, his shoe sales, and really just his whole like business, is that it works for him. But Rick Ross acknowledges that that wouldn't work in his own kind of area and what he got going on. So that's a perfect example of just hustling your own way, doing your own thing, focusing on what you need to do to make yourself successful. Everybody's blueprint is different, so it's important to stay true to yourself. Okay, so the next lesson that we got from this book is to stack your own paper. And that's something that I feel is just super important today, as we see with just inflation, everything is, you know, higher value. It's important to just focus on really financial literacy at the end of the day. And that's what I feel he means just by stack your paper, is just focus on your finances and just focusing on getting financially literate, so that you can do right by your money. And just like I said earlier, Rick Ross learned to put his money to work for him and generate assets that give him passive income. And that's what I'm trying to do with this channel and other kind of ventures that I got going on in my life. Just build more streams of income so that I can help others and teach others about like how to be financially literate, as well as like stack my own paper. An example that he cites is when COVID first hit, the government gave out stimulus checks. Everybody was getting $1,200. We ain't even gonna talk about how much people were getting in unemployment and how much people were getting in PPP, but the government was lending out this money and people didn't know what to do with it. And they messed it up. They spend it on stupid stuff instead of putting it to work and building assets that can provide, you know, another stream of income. Even Rick Ross himself, some of the assets that he has is just, you know, his Wingstop franchises, his house that, you know, he rents out to movie set, and his deal with Bel Air the Rosé. The next topic that we took away from this book is don't waste your time. Rick Ross says this, and I agree as well, that time is probably the most precious asset that we have, and we don't want to use it irresponsibly. We want to just put it towards things that are constructive and things that can help us get to where we want to be in life. I like to watch Netflix sometimes. I know I like to get on social media sometimes, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I will say, if we want to get to where we want to be in life and be successful and achieve our goals, we have to understand that we have to make a time dedication. You have to put in the time and effort to whatever your hustle is. Going back to A Perfect Day to Boss Up. Bossing up is understanding that you got to put the time in too. There's times where we create bad habits as far as time management, and it's important to, one, acknowledge those bad habits and eliminate them and do better use with our time. Another thing about time, kind of in reverse, I guess you could say, is you can't rush greatness. So just be patient with whatever you're doing. Continue to be consistent, put in the work, and you know you will be successful and you can reach your goals. The next topic that we're talking about is teamwork. And Rick Ross preaches teamwork. He has a really good team that kind of helps him manage his operations, manage all the business that he got going. Two notable people that he cites are his mother and his sister, who basically run a lot of just his business. And this is something that I'm trying to, again, learn more about, just building a team, and really kind of Rick Ross says, just get good, smart people around you that see the same vision as you and that can assist you in just doing what you want to do. And also, I feel like with this, it's important to just give things back to other people. I feel like that's part of being a part of a team as well. What can you provide as well as what people can provide to you? What comes with teamwork is just acknowledging the things that you do good so you can focus on those, and things that either you don't have time for or that you don't know how to do, you can delegate to others, or you can reach out to people through your team, through your network, and learn how to do those things. So again, getting value, getting information from your team, from your network. And so the final topic that we're talking about with this book is to dig deeper. This basically comes from Rick Ross on his property in Atlanta, Georgia. He had a pond. It was rather shallow, so it really couldn't hold the fish very well. And when he brought in some agriculture people to take a look at it, they told him that he had to dig deeper in order to have a healthy pond of fish. And really what this goes to is just digging deeper in ourselves, kind of when we feel like we can't go anymore with just what we got going, our goals, our dreams. We have to learn to dig deeper, because sometimes really pull out what's inside you and just focus on what you need to do, your hustle, and really kind of what Rick Ross says, bossing up. All right, man, that's a wrap on this video. That's a wrap on The Perfect Day to Boss Up by none other than Rick Ross. If you enjoyed this video, I really appreciate it. I also really appreciate you staying till this part of the video. Again, if you enjoyed it, be sure to give it a like, as well as leave a comment for any other kind of books that you want me to read or any kind of workouts that you want me to do. My name is Elliott Ware, and I'll catch you on the next video. Thank you.